Hello, Build!
Hey, everybody. So you're here to learn about how GitHub builds GitHub on GitHub, if that isn't enough GitHub for you. Maybe we'll say the word Copilot a couple of times as well. Hopefully nobody back home is playing the build drinking game, otherwise that's going to be really messy. So I'm Martin Woodward. I'm VP of DevRel here at GitHub.
And I'm Brian Randell, and I'm a staff developer advocate, now in DevRel.
Yeah, there we go.
A little announcement.
Yeah. So before this, both Brian and I actually, had real jobs before we came to work at GitHub and things. You were like a DevOps consultant for ages.
Yeah, as long as DevOps has been around.
Yeah, I guess, and before.
Yeah.
And then I worked actually over at Microsoft building, DevOps tools for everybody in the company, and also helping teams modernize their engineering systems and helping them improve. Now that's cool, and when you're doing that, it's kind of a lot of legacy stuff, moving it to the cloud, doing app modernization, and as we all know, when you're doing the application modernization, it's no good if you don't also do some cultural modernization as well, and make sure you can actually ship at sort of cloud scale, ship at cloud velocities, and so we did a lot of that. And most of the time, it's like bringing these legacy applications, bringing them in, and we were always kind of jealous of these born-in-the-cloud startups that had it easy. They just cloudy, it was all good, it must be great. And then I came to work at GitHub, and that was it was an interesting experience, because what nobody tells you about these fast-moving cloud startups is just dealing with that growth, making sure you don't build up tech debt as you go. And if you don't keep modernizing your engineering systems, modernizing your engineering practices, then you're just going to get swallowed up in your own pool of debt kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so what I wanted to do today was kind of show you how we've been modernizing the engineering systems behind GitHub to build GitHub. But obviously, we do that on GitHub. So all the source code for GitHub is stored on GitHub, and we're going to go dig in and actually play with it in a second. What could possibly go wrong, having a VP do some coding live on stage. And then we're going to dig in and have a look around the application. It's a Ruby on Rails-based application. There's about 66 services that make up GitHub, but there's one massive kind of Rails monolith in the middle, where a lot of the functionality that you know in .com actually, so GitHub.com, sorry, I'll try and catch me if I start doing that sort of thing, where that lives. And now in GitHub, there's actually around 1,500 people within the engineering org at GitHub, which is huge growth in terms of engineers that are building that product. But that's because actually GitHub itself has been growing massively. If we look at the number of accounts on GitHub, we've now over 100 million accounts on GitHub, and it's just grown exponentially as it goes, and trying to keep up with all that growth as we build has been hard. Now, when we look at kind of shipping GitHub, what it takes, we actually do around 80,000 deployments to .com, to the production website in the past year. Across the kind of internal repositories, there are around about 1.9 million commits, so a lot of code, a lot of history. And in fact, the GitHub.com code base, which we're going to be playing with today, has around about 1.5 million commits just in it. So it's a lot of history.
Yeah, it's about 16 gigs now if you're trying to just do your own clone.
Yeah, it's a monster repo. We actually serve over 4 billion API requests a day. And yeah, so it's busy. It's a busy site.
Well, it's like that whole flying as you put the plane together.
Exactly. But the interesting thing when we're looking at kind of how we track our system, what we care about, what we monitor, availability is the #1 priority for us, but also performance. There's no good, coming to the site and it's up if it's super slow. So that's no good. So availability and performance are critical. And then obviously scaling out, making sure we do everything securely, make sure we bake security into our processes, and then make sure we build, the best, most productive systems for our engineers as they collaborate asynchronously, because we're a fully remote workforce. So building that in as we go. And there's a trick. There's a little secret I want to let you into in kind of GitHub's master plan for how they build.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry. It's cool. So the master plan for GitHub is actually to build happy developers. That's what we do. Not just happy developers here, but happy developers inside the company as well. Because loads of studies have shown, and you actually dig in and do the data and the research, If you want to unlock productivity amongst your engineering team, you build happy developers. You improve the developer experience. You make it easy to do the right thing. Because we are engineers. We root around failure. That's literally our jobs. And so if the process isn't working for us, then we're going to just root around it to get our jobs done. And so we want to make the process as easy as possible to do the right thing and have the best developer experience. Now, one of the things we always talk about with DevOps is you do find what the most painful thing is that you've got, make it a bit less painful, then find the next most painful thing and make that a bit less painful, and just keep improving iteratively as you go. One of the pain points that we were having as we were rapidly growing was actually onboarding new developers. And we set a really ambitious goal that we wanted to have a new engineer when they arrive at GitHub have code running in the hands of customers on the first day in the job. And that's crazy. I mean, I did a lot of consulting gigs, and I could be there like 2 weeks before they'd even give me a machine to work with sometimes.
It's amazing how much money I made sitting in conference rooms.
Yeah, exactly. So we wanted to get to that point, but it's the other sort of tricky thing we have is we're a fully remote workforce. We have lots of people on the road moving around with laptops and things, and the source code for GitHub's kind of a big deal. We don't want to mess around with that. And so we needed to make sure as well that we wanted to have a situation where there's actually no code locally on computers, so that if people lost machines, if people broke machines, it wasn't a big security issue. We had the confidence to know we were OK. So what we wanted to do was get our engineering time down, get the build time down of our machines so we could stand up development environments. It takes me 45 minutes to clone that 16-gigabyte code base at home, and I have good internet. I have really good internet. So we wanted to get that down to getting an engineering system with all of its dependencies, we're all set up in under a minute. And we did that with a thing we now call it Codespaces. We actually built this, and now we ship it to you as a thing called Codespaces. It allows you to start coding instantly, have big machines. This isn't the right place to come for a Codespaces pitch, but it's cool. Come down to the booth, we'll tell you all about it.
Yep.
But we also wanted to make sure that, just beyond onboarding, that they had infinite power, that they could scale and all that sort of thing. The next thing I wanted to mention I'm going to show you is, obviously, you've heard a lot about Copilot during this session and during this conference. Copilot is a big boon for us because, again, fully remote workforce, having that AI assistance, having that AI pair programmer, something you can ask questions of, it really helps you work and stay in the flow. It helps you be faster as you're coding. And we've also, within our engineering team, 3/4 of the team say that Copilot, in particular, helps them stay in the flow, rather than getting distracted. And, you go to Google to go search something or Stack Overflow, and then you end up checking cat GIFs and social media and all that sort of stuff. So what we're going to do is actually go do some coding. So if I go to my demo machine here, if we bring that up. Woohoo!
Oh, that's you.
First demo is working. Brilliant. So this, everybody, is the source code of GitHub, live on GitHub. This is literally live, so I'm just going to hit refresh. There are now 1.4 million commits, whatever. So what I'm going to do is start coding. So I come in here, and I'm going to create myself a brand new code space. So what I'm doing is I'm creating an entire new dev environment. I'm going to get a massive machine in the cloud. I'm going to clone all the source code to it. I'm going to get all my dependencies down. I'm going to get ready and set up and download all my dot files. And oh, hang on. It's actually it's here. It's ready. Right. Okay. Awesome. We're ready to go. So that was before I could actually explain what we were doing. I now have a brand new dev environment with all of the source code for GitHub already pre-installed for me. And it's actually better than that. Getting the code down is one thing. How about if I just come in here and I just start server, script/server. There we go. I'm going to start my own dev instance of GitHub running on my dev box in the cloud by using GitHub. So there we go. So that's pretty cool.
A little bit of inception there.
Yeah. It's firing up the server. Now, if I just jump over and go onto github.localhost, if you're not logged into GitHub, if you are logged into GitHub, if you go to github.com/home, you should see something very familiar to this. This is the home page that non-logged in users would see as well. And I'm like a PM glorified sort of thing. You know, I like delete email and approve expenses occasionally.
Yeah, okay.
And like I don't really code a lot. And so say if I want to figure out if something's hard to do, I'll just go look around the site and think, okay, yeah, this page here. It'd be cool to change the home page, wouldn't it, for GitHub.com?
I think we should.
So let's just go grab some text. And typically what I do is I'll come in and I'll go to GitHub and I'll just go search for the random bit of text that I want to go look at. I go, okay, right, here it is. Hero HTML, right, well, that looks like it's the code. So I maybe go look and I want to see what change I want to make, see how hard it is, because I believe in asking developers to do easy things rather than hard things, if I can at all make that happen. What developers do at GitHub is typically they actually use VS Code natively, and they connect to that remote code space from a native VS Code. You can also SSH into it if you want to. Typically, they're using VS Code local connected into a remote code space. So here we are, servers running. It's all good. If I do an ls, you see I'm getting a full terminal access on this box that's running up in the cloud. Oops, sorry, uname-sa. There we go. Look at that. So I'm running in Linux in Azure. So what I wanted to do is, here's that page we were just talking about. So rather than let's build from here, let's say let's build from Seattle. We'll hit save. Let's go to the page. We'll come back to localhost. We'll hit refresh. So here we go. Can a developer actually code? Is the first demo of build going to work for me?
Hey, there we go.
Look at that.
Ship it.
I can code, mate. This is awesome. Right, well, let's get a bit more ambitious, eh? So rather than just messing around with some HTML and stuff, let's go actually look at the source code. So we'll bring up the main profile page. You're familiar with this. This is the feed. And you see down here we've got your teams. So let's go find where that bit of code lives, because I'm going to go do some crazy stuff around here. So let's just go do a quick search. We'll do a search for your teams and see. That lives in, and if you've seen the new search experience, it's pretty darn good.
Kind
so
of
come in here, yeah, right, your teams, great. Okay, so that's in user teams HTML. So if I open that up, user teams HTML. So what I want to do is, I want to make it show an emoji. So give you sort of a visual indicator if you've got a lot of teams or a few teams. Now, I'm really a .NET developer, probably. I used to bit Java as well. I'm definitely not a Rails developer. I'm not a Scooby-Doo when it comes to Rails. I've not a clue when it comes to doing Rails development. So I'm going to ask Copilot what to do. And then let's do that live on stage, and let's see what goes wrong. So if we just say something like, how can I modify the H2 on this page? So that we have an emoji after the text, and I've got it in, text, got it in my clipboard buffer. That displays an emoji, different emoji based on the team size. I'll do. See what happens there. See what Copilot thinks. So it does this. Now, it's giving me this is cool. It's giving me like a JavaScript version, which is neat. That'll do it client side. That's OK. But what I was wanting it to do was actually give me server side. So how would I do this server side in Ruby on Rails? And we'll do that. Oh, that's doing that. Oh, no, that looks too complicated for me. That's doing it in the controller. How would I do this online in the page? Let me just get rid of these, sorry.
All right, now we're looking a little better.
Okay.
I don't like those emojis. Why don't you ask if we can change the start?
Online in the inline in the page in Rails, please. Thank you. There we go.
Okay.
Right, so that looks good. So it's going to do, give me some team size stuff, whatever, So I'm going to kind of take this, because this looks, sort of awesome. I'm probably going to do, let's grab that. That makes sense. Emoji equals that. So we'll come in here. We'll stick that in. Great. And then maybe we'll do, I guess it's going to put in that there. and then I can hear people whispering, so it means I've copy-pasted something wrong. So we'll do that, emoji, team, rather than case team.size, I see what, thank you, whoever was whispering in the audience. That's perfect, thank you. There we go. Right, that looks cool. Should we give it a go?
I think you should.
Right, okay, let's find out.
It's only you bring down GitHub.com.
Yeah, I'm bringing my local host instance.
Oh, that's right. All right, fine.
If we see the dreaded 500 error, though, then that'll be exciting.
Oh?
You ready? Da, 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 da. Come on, you can do it.
Hey! There we go.
So there we go. So what I would do now normally is actually I would send that over as an issue to a developer to do for real rather than PM, but I'd give them the proof of concept. So Brian, let's talk about how we use planning and tracking.
Absolutely. So one of the great things about GitHub is that we have something called GitHub Issues. And this is something that's beloved by developers because it lets you flexibly track the data you care about. And one of the critical things about this is that the content lives where developers care about things the most, the repo. Now, when I first started at GitHub, one of the key things I heard was, if it doesn't have a URL on it, it doesn't exist. Well, thankfully, GitHub Issues all have a URL on them. And so across the company, everybody, and this is from DevRel, marketing, and yes, engineering, and even legal, use issues to track different types of work. Now, what you can see on the screen here is I've got a new project board. Now, projects were revamped and re-updated and shipped last August. And it provides a way to visualize data across multiple repos in a format that makes sense for you. Now, what you're seeing here is a real board that I use daily as I fill in for a teammate of mine who's been out on maternity leave. Hey, Rachel, come on back soon. Now, what you see here is that I'm looking back at stuff we have shipped in the past few months, because I'm often looking back at what were our successes, what do we still have to get going, and how are we going to move forward. Now, as you look at this, there's a bunch of different things going on here. But if I go to this next one, you'll see similar data, but with a different type of breakdown. And in fact, if I come over here and we just zoom in a little, what you're going to see is that we have issue type. And that's one of the key things that we want you to take away from GitHub Issues is that they're very flexible, and they can be used any way you want to manage your work. So we can go back to the slides for a second.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Hello. Sorry. Oh, no, gone too far. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There we go.
There it is.
Sorry about that.
No worries. So at GitHub, we have a workflow process called Howie, which is a combination of template definitions for different types of issues, as well as some back-end workflow processing that helps keep us in line. As you can see here, we have a hierarchy of 4 different types of issues. At the top, we have an initiative. Underneath that, you decompose into epics. From there, we have what are called batches. And from there, we have tasks. This is the way that we work. Understanding that GitHub Issues is designed to be flexible for any data you want to do. We understand you may follow some particular type of practice, maybe big A, agile, robe and sandals, or maybe something a little more relaxed. GitHub wants you to be able to manage your work the way you see fit without us being overly opinionated. So if we go back to the board, we can look at a feature that recently came out. So back to the demo. There we go. Awesome. And we'll see a third board here. So as I mentioned, I'm moving over to DevRel from PMM. But one of the things I've already started on that I really like to continue to take care of is GitHub Universe. So that is our show for GitHub. That'll be later this fall, or actually later this year.
Yeah, come
falls.
on.
I
yeah,
know.
Exactly. We've got joining us online.
Yes, so there's some Australians here, I'm sure, and people from underneath the equator. But in either case, what we have here is some work we're doing for the demo stations. And you can see that I've got this parent work item, Universe Demo Stations, with 4 children. And the way this is linked together is through our new task list. Now, one of the things we can do here is you can see we can add additional tasks that specify other data. Now, I kind of cheated. I thought being in DevRel, swag is really critical.
Yep.
But what else might we want to add up here?
Stickers.
Stickers, absolutely.
Yeah, Mona, plushies. Well, I suppose that's also. Well, anyway, let's do stickers. Anyway.
Stickers?
Yeah, it's fine.
Stickers or plushies? Stickers, okay. Must have new stickers for the event. The audience is talking, folks. You're missing out. Now, when you first add something, it starts as a draft, which is really flexible. So you may not know, are they going to put it in the DevRel repo, or is someone else going to pay for it? We'll try and get Tebow to pay for it. But in either case, we're going to come over here, and we can convert this to a full issue. And then, after a second, I can even come in here and assign it. And let's assign this to Tebow. So Tebow is soon to be my former VP. And so now he's responsible for making sure we have
Get in.
Get in. Now, this is just one way that we're able to do the work. So here, not very structured, not very hardcore, no command and control. We're able to work the way we want and gather the data we need. Finally, we have another project board here, and this one is using our new roadmap view, which recently GA'd at the end of March. What this is letting you see is a set of issues, but instead of a traditional hierarchy, we're able to see it on a timeline, moving out from the current time period you want to specify, and for us, I've said today minus 7 days forward. And so you can see we have a bunch of events here, including, hey, the build pre-day workshop. So I can come over here and click on that. It's got a URL on it, and it says that this was on May 22nd. Can we just close this out?
No, you've got to do your trip report first, mate. Sorry.
Oh, already is a taskmaster. All right, so fundamentally, with projects and issues, you can have the level of data gathering and control you want and you need without us forcing something down your throat. So what do we got next for them?
Well, if we do issues, we've done coding. Let's do actions next. If you jump over to my machine.
Sounds good.
So this, one of the teams I work with is the docs team at GitHub. So this is the code for the production doc site. If I go to the production environment, I can go in there and I go view the latest deployment. This is one of the hilarious things about working at GitHub. I hit view deployment, and there's the doc site for GitHub, because this is the code that deploys the doc site for GitHub. So let's go and look at how that works. As you can see here, it's in production. Notice this one was last submitted 41 minutes ago, this last change. I can go look at the PR that triggered this deployment, and then go look at the files that changed as part of this PR, but I can also trace it back and go look at the issue that decided why we should do this change. So you see how you have end-to-end traceability, from what's running live in production, what changed, who changed it, who did the code review of that change, and then back to the issue, why did we change it? So you've got that end-to-end traceability. Now, if I go back and I actually have a look at the, jump back here, and I go look at the deployment itself, this was deployed by GitHub Actions. And if I go and have a look, this is the job that actually did the deployment. Who here's used GitHub Actions? Who's in the audience? Oh, yeah, quite a few of you. So this is the same stuff you use. We're using exactly the same thing. And it's fairly simple. It's coming in, it's creating a Docker container, it's pushing up into the Azure Container Registry, it's flipping between the, whoops, sorry, I've expanded that out, didn't mean to do that. It flips between the canary slot to production slot, and then it's done. That's how we do a deployment. Simple. But let's do something a little bit more complicated. So if we go into, this is the action that deploys GitHub to GitHub using GitHub Actions, which is a little bit scary. I would say I understood this, but I have a vague understanding of how this all works. And we see it's currently deploying, like it's literally always deploying changes. There's always new stuff going online. And if I go take a quick look at the workflow that's doing this, one of the cool things is you see it does a matrix here. So a matrix is a way you take a workflow and job and split it into lots of jobs, get parallelization across hundreds of machines that we're hosting in the cloud. So we actually parallelize the build, so every organization's builds run in parallel, and then we use a common, what this is called a reusable workflow. We use a common workflow across all of those teams to do the deployment. And that common workflow actually takes care of, all the compliance stuff, making sure we're using the right password vault, that we're, keeping all our secrets externalized in the same vault, that we do all the right compliance testing, all that sort of stuff, and then call into the customizations that each particular team wants to do. But it's not just actually, sort of building code, shipping code, deploying code that we do. We use actions for everything. Everything in GitHub that is an event can have an action that runs automation when it receives that event. So for example, here I have a couple of scheduled actions, one that opens a top 5. So this is an issue that we have amongst our team where people do stand up asynchronously. So, it creates an issue, they fill out what they're working on, and then actually at the end, it closes that top 5 issue so the next one can be created. And then here is another one that actually we have to send, everybody has a manager, even VPs, and so we have to send updates to our management chain. This is the issue that comes in and creates like a weekly update discussion, and then sends the team a reminder, because nobody actually fills it out when it sends it, and sends them a reminder to tell them to go fill it out. Do all that with actions. So now we've built the code, shipped the code, tracked the issues. We need to make sure that all this is being done securely as well, Brian. So do you want to show some of the stuff there?
Absolutely. So one of the things I love about working at GitHub is that we have this strong tie to the open source community. The bottom line is if you're doing something to make the world better, and we hope you are if you have public code out there, then we're going to support you by giving you access to everything you need to deliver high-quality solutions.
Yep.
And one of those key areas is that we give you access to the security technology that we have that enterprise companies pay good money for. When we think about what we've done over the years, recently we added a great new feature that I think is absolutely wonderful, and it's called push protection. This is something that we made available just earlier this month in May that allows anyone who has a public repo to make sure that you don't accidentally submit some kind of secret into your source code and get it pushed out to the world and then have to remediate that problem. So what I've got here is a little program I've written in C#. And yes, I did modify this. I hopefully wasn't going to be that silly, but
okay.
You do stuff. You set out to write a demo, and you do things. You leave secrets in the code. And so what's going on here is I have a PAT, a personal access token that allows my code to talk to GitHub on my behalf. And right now, our CISO, Mike Hanley, would be freaking out, right? Because one of the first things he always asks us, who's on the security team? And the expectation is that everybody in the company raises their hand. So I'm doing a bad job here. It's a demo, Mike, I promise. Now, what you see here then is that I've got the code change in here, and I'm ready to commit it. So we're going to come over here and do a git commit -m. Let's ship it. And
Git commit -a.
Yeah. Now you messed me up.
Sorry, dude. Thank you. This is why you use the GUI for doing changes.
No, it's more fun to be typing live in front of an audience.
Yeah, exactly. So now this would work. The same experience would work. Just use the UI.
Oh, fine.
You obviously can't use the command line, right? Hit the commit button. Give a message.
No, I need to do that.
All right, there we go.
Boo.
Yeah. Of all the demos that were going to go wrong, I didn't think this was the demo. Right, do your push.
I'm losing my.
Where'd you work? Come on, we've not got time. The clock's ticking. Sorry, dude.
You're killing me. I'm fired.
Is it master?
I'm on a branch.
Okay, there we go.
Hey! It's real, folks.
Yeah, right.
No videos here. So what happened there, right? GitHub said, you ain't gonna do that. There's a lot of detail here going on. If you look at the URLs up here, I've got them for you, gh.io, free-push-pro blog 23, as well as gh-docs ssp-ss. And what you're gonna see there is that we support over 100 different tokens that we recognize. And if that doesn't work for you, you can write your own custom regex to look for data that you don't want put inside your source code and in your history. So that is a good way to start my career here with you.
Yeah, it's all good, don't worry. I did it wrong too, so it's great.
Now, going the next step further, though, is we can't always find vulnerabilities in your code as easily. But we do have a product that's designed to help that. It's called CodeQL. It basically acts as a security force multiplier to take insight found by security teams around the world that then submit that type of vulnerability that we translate into a special type of query that can then be run against your code as part of your pull request process and detect for bad anti-patterns that are going on inside the code you've written. Now, what we had at GitHub a while back is that our security team was reviewing how we did our HTTP handling around our OAuth dance that's done whenever you try and talk to GitHub, whether it be through the browser as a human or through some type of code. And in doing so, they found a vulnerability. And I'm going to demonstrate it really simple here in a test repo. Yes, this bug's been fixed. It's out there. And in fact, as you're going to see, we provided the world with a CodeQL query that you can use on all public code for free, by the way. CodeQL is available as well, like push protection. And so what we're doing here is I'm going to issue a curl statement. And the first thing I'm going to do is do a get. Now, when I do that, you come in here, and there's a bunch of stuff going on in here. But what we're going to see is that it says logged in equals false.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we want to see, right? I can't log into the server. Now, I'm going to come over and do it again, only this time I'm going to do it with a post. And yes, I'll get help from Apple to tell me what CU means.
Could have been worse.
It could have been the other one. And so we'll come down here in the terminal again, do a clear so you can see what I'm doing. We'll paste that one in. And sure enough, we get a 404 not found. That's exactly what we want.
Yeah, no bugs here. This works.
However, let's go one step further and do a simple head command. And this is where the problem comes in. Turns out that this allows a bypass, and if we look in here, you're going to see logged in true, it was accepted. Well, we don't want that. So, security team goes to the CodeQL team, they talk about it, and they developed a query that you see here that is something that can be run over your source code to look for this particular type of vulnerability. And when the vulnerability is found, it will fail the pull request, which you see here in this example right here. Manually checking for the verb, going through and it sees, hey, you did a request right here. And we provide you with information that tells you why you shouldn't do this and why it's bad for your application. And as I said, this is available to you today in the open source community, and you can even submit your own as you find vulnerabilities. The bottom line is we're trying to make the world better, just like you are, and we hope we can do that by having the best security tools available.
Fantastic. Thank you. So we've now got a secure product. We've now deployed that product. So what we're going to do now is kind of start testing that product and using it and making sure it works.
Sounds good.
So what I'm actually going to do now is play with a thing called feature flags. So a feature flag is just a fancy if statement. Yeah, it's if this thing switched on, then go do something. In fact, here's an example we were working on recently to make the contribution graph, the green squares that you get on your GitHub profile, making that more accessible. But the contribution graph is a big deal at GitHub. Like that's one of the things that people think about at GitHub. We don't want to break it. We don't want to make it look different. But we just want to make it so everybody can use the contribution graph, every developer on GitHub. So what we did was we built a feature where we say, if accessible contribution graph is on, then go show that. Otherwise, go show the original code. And that's very, very common pattern that you do. If feature flag on, go do this. Otherwise, do that. And then what we do is feature flags themselves are actually the common basis for things like doing A/B testing, as well as progressive exposure. So you can switch a feature flag on, say, to 5% of your users, look at your errors, do all that sort of thing, make sure it's all going OK, and then deploy it to 100%. We also use feature flags for testing features with groups of people. You know, the MVPs and the stars, they get access to cool stuff before everybody else, including sometimes people at GitHub, which is quite annoying.
Yes,
and then we go and we test it, and then we deploy it, and it's all great. So what I wanted to do is actually have a play with a feature flag live, like a real production.
You're actually going to turn on feature flag on GitHub.com.
Yeah, let's give it a go. So now we use some feature flagging tool that we kind of use ourselves internally. It's based on Flipper, an open source project. But actually, you can use, open source solutions, Flipper's for Rails. You can use cloud services like LaunchDarkly or Flipper Cloud or somebody like that. But with this, we've got it kind of built into GitHub. GitHub in the admin tools. So as I say, I can enable a group. I could switch it on for the MVPs if I wanted. I could gradually enable it for all actors. And you notice down here as well, I see where the code is actually used. And we can come in here and see, OK, well, let's have a look at this code. Right, OK, this is where the code's used. Fabulous. Right, so let's come down, and then we get a full audit trail as well. So let me go switch that. If we look, this is my profile live on github.com here. No smoke and mirrors. This is live. So I'm going to come in, and I'm going to add an actor, and I'm just going to add this feature flag and switch it on for me, Martin Woodward.
Oh, you don't want to add it for, like, you know?
No, I'll just do it for me.
Just OK.
Hit add actor. And then it's been updated. Now, obviously, on a site the size of GitHub, you want to be caching things a lot. So it says it takes up to 30 seconds to apply. So I do want to do live normally when I'm doing this, which is hit refresh a bunch of times. Just mash it, and hopefully I type my name right, because the way this demo is going, who knows? Hey! So there we go. So there, I've switched on the feature flag. That's popped up this little banner for GitHub Universe. So, so that's feature flag. So then the next demo and the last demo I want to talk about is actually, once you've switched on your features, how do you know if it's working, you know? So for that, you need good telemetry. But also, you may have noticed when we're going around the site, Brian and I have this weird, like, black bar at the top of our site that you don't have. In fact, I can switch that off. There you go, you see? On. So this is, I mentioned performance is like, you know, availability and performance. Well, we're using GitHub. We know when it's down because we can't use GitHub, which gets a bit tricky. There is like backups to that, don't worry. And then we have performance is the next priority. So we can see how quickly the page loaded. We can get data about it, how it's working, all that sort of stuff. And that's right there in the face of every developer all the time as they're building GitHub on GitHub. But you also want telemetry. And so, for example, I mentioned I work on the docs site. If I go over here and look at docs analytics, I can go see what the traffic is on the docs site. I can go look at the performance of the docs rendering, not just for me, but how it's rendering for real. You know, it doesn't matter if it works on your machine. Does it work on everybody else's machine is what's important. So go look at that. I don't know if you noticed on the bottom of GitHub Docs is a little up thumb, down thumb, and you can kind of leave a comment. That's their survey data, so that's that coming in live as well. So that's how we get, you get telemetry, you get analytics. But we also, when you're shipping things, when you're making things work, it's all very well and good, running experiments and quickly shipping, testing things, and then learning. But what's even cheaper than doing that is actually never having to ship at all to learn and ask some questions of your data that you have, and like prove hypotheses before you even build anything. And so I can come in here, and I've got the data warehouse behind GitHub running live here. So for instance, hope Mary Jo's not watching. If I come here and hit run, that'll run there's currently 265 million repos publicly on GitHub. Oh, there the cameras are going out. Awesome. Don't tell my boss. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, my hypothesis might be, well, that's how many public repos there are, but how many repos are actually have a recognized open source license? Because you'll know there's a difference between a public repo and an open source repo that's freely licensed for everybody to use. So let's ask our database, where is open source is equal to true? And my hypothesis is this number is going to be a lot less than 265 million. But I don't know yet how bad, what the difference is to know if it justifies investing in features to make it easier to do an open source license. So let's get that. Let's run that query. And we can see, yeah, that's pretty bad. So 58 million of them have open source licenses. So there's a difference there. So yeah, we should make it easier for people to do a license.
Absolutely.
Now, I mentioned 100 million accounts. People always never believe that number. So I thought I'd dive in a bit deeper. And we'll go, where are those accounts? Where are they all based, sort of thing? So I'm going to hit run. This is live, how many accounts are on GitHub by country. So that's taking the entire accounts table, like doing all the group bys and blah, 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 because Azure Data Explorer, Kusto, but it's amazing. Like, the syntax is great. You have a really good experience with it. And we see here nearly 19 million, just coming up to 12 million people in India. So yeah. So that's what we do with telemetry. So then if we go back to slides for me. We finally found that picture.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there we go. Right. So as I say, to make sure you have the most productive engineers in your team, to make sure you have the most productive process, you want to focus on the experience of the engineers in your organization and the experience of everybody in your team who's responsible for shipping code into production. When was the last time you asked everybody in your team? When did the last time people ask you what's wrong? I'm pretty sure you've got opinions, you know,
Yeah,
like timesheets, whatever, you know? But you've got to focus on that development experience, encourage everybody here to. But also, we have to take responsibility for this as well, because it's literally our job to build the engineering tooling and the engineering systems for all the companies that we work at. That's your job. So what are you going to do next week when you get back to work? What are you going to, well, a lot of people here are going to have Monday off. So it's a short week. So in that short week, what are you going to do to actually make it easier for everybody in your organization to ship software to customers just a little bit faster? Don't go solve the world. Don't go, you know, boil the ocean or whatever, yeah? Don't try and solve everything at once. What small thing can you do to make it just a little bit easier to ship to production tomorrow and next week? And then the week after that, what small thing can you do to improve the engineering systems inside your organization? It's literally your job to do that. Don't ask permission. Make it better. Because you make it better continuously every week, every day. All those incremental changes add up. And you start building down debt that exists inside the organization. You start having processes that you want to do, and you start building happy developers inside of your company.
It's your responsibility, right, to focus on that inner loop, the DevX, as well as that outer loop, the DevOps, right? It's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And you've got the data to back it up, right?
Yeah.
Happy developers write better code, and you give users what they want, which is value.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to start wrapping up. I want to thank you all for coming to the conference. I want to thank you all for coming to the session, and especially the people watching online and asking questions. And thanks to Damien, who's been answering those for everybody. If you'd like to watch some more content, we actually have this. I've put these sessions here for people can catch, because I know not everybody catches every session. So yesterday, we had more about the advanced security stuff that you were showing. So that session there's the code for it if you want to take some pictures. Then there was a demo of doing CI/CD with GitHub Actions. Then we had how to get the most out of GitHub Copilot, and also how to build faster. There was a demo session with GitHub Copilot. And then tomorrow, a session that you can't miss. It's going to be a riot. I've been involved in some like the early sort of stuff on this. Scott Hanselman and Mark Rustanovich actually, Scott's going to try and teach Mark to code in Rust. Neither of them knows how to code in Rust. Yeah. And then they're going to do all that like live on stage using, guess it, GitHub Copilot. See how that works. But actually, while they're doing that, Scott's hilarious, but Mark's very, very, very clever. Yeah. And so during that whole talk, they actually explained to you all this stuff you saw in the keynote yesterday, how these large language models work, how you actually build a product based around large language models and ship it to your business and do all that sort of stuff as well. So make sure you catch those sessions. We want to thank you very much for your time. If you want to get a hold of us, I'm Martin Woodward, at Martin Woodward on social media and on GitHub. And then Brian?
I'm at Octobrian on GitHub, and then at Brian Randell on social media.
OK, thank you very much for your time, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.